So there is a difference between designing for your users and designing on their behalf. As a seasoned UX designer, I see quite often people who think they know exactly what users need or want. Maybe they understand the business, and because of that, they tend to make decisions on users' behalf versus designing for them. I think the ultimate difference between this thinking or this concept of designing on behalf versus designing for is rooted in assumed value or perceived value versus actual value. And I like to draw the parallel of when a celebrity wins an award, for example, an Oscar or Grammy, and they are not present. The person who is actually handing off the award will say, I accept this award on their behalf. I know they're really happy or they really appreciate this. And then, you clap and you move on. However, you don't get the emotion, the triumph that a actual celebrity feels by making this accomplishment, if that makes sense. I am close to wrapping up a project, and I was kind of looking back over the journey over this last 9 to 12 months of working on this project. And there's a couple things where this concept showed itself. The first area is in one of the asks. One of the asks was our UI is cluttered, and so we need to declutter our layout. In our process, we have the ability to put prototypes and screens in front of actual users and get their feedback on the completeness of what they're seeing on the page. And there was a subtle nuance that changed our layout as a user described what their goal was. He says, I need to not just put in data. What I'm doing is trying to craft a story about the history of this particular unit. And that helped me understand what they prioritize on the page. It's not just, how many data fields we can put in front of them or remove from them. Are we putting the right data fields on the screen in order for users to craft their story about a particular unit? Another telltale sign of designing on someone's behalf versus designing for them is, we'll just be logical with our implementation. And the question I often ask, well, logical to who? What's logical to me may not be logical to the actual users based on context. And again, another example that happened in this project where this app is used outdoors and it inspects large trailers that you use in the transportation industry that you see going down the highway that carries all kind of goods and services. Part of what they do with this app is they inspect these units after they've been on the road. One step in this process is to evaluate and inspect the tires, tread depth, and things like that. And when laying this portion of the app out, I optimized it based on what I thought was a logical flow, especially from a user experience. One of the things we try to do is reduce cognitive load. And that's basically a fancy way of saying don't require your users to hold things in their memory until that it's time to use them. The app can do that for you. And so that's the approach that I took until we actually put this in front of users. And they were like, well, look, this looks great, but this is going to slow me down because this is not how I operate. And I said, well, unpack that for me. Help me understand how this will slow you down. And the overwhelming response was, well, I hold these numbers in my head and then I enter in. Well, so why is that? Well, because this is a physical activity. The app is in one hand on a device and the measure tool is in the other. The way I had designed it would require them to put the tool up, enter in the data, pull the tool back out for the next tire versus getting all 4 measurements and then going back to the app. And I think that was insightful because logically, I didn't want my users holding that information in because it's been proven over time that cognitive load, it could be a pain point in other use cases. But in this particular case, the user actually wanted that cognitive load on them because then it relieves their physical effort. And so I was able to take that feedback and further streamline to account for them holding that information in their head. And the goal was then not to eliminate that cognitive load, but actually reduce it to make it easier to get that out of their head and into the system. And the last point on this concept of designing for users versus designing on their behalf, yes, let's just throw best practices at it and it'll be okay. In this particular case, again, the best practice was not the right solution for this particular client. The environment in which these users work is outside, so they are subjected to all the elements. That's sunlight, heat. Most of the trucking yards aren't paved, they're dirt. And so you got dust. If you think about all those things the user is subjected to out in the elements, makes its way into the UI solution. Have you ever used your iPhone or your mobile phone in high sunlight? The screen becomes hard to view. And so contrast and color choices was a big deal for limiting mistakes. That's a business process that the mistakes, it could be a financial burden to the company if that's done wrong, or inconvenience to their end client. And so the color choices to reinforce where you are in this app was actually an important solution based on those elements, because they needed that contrast, they needed that level of visibility as a measure to prevent mistakes in their data entry. And lastly, the font sizes are almost cartoonishly big based on having to have as much visibility and contrast in an app. Again, coming from design school, these font sizes are not what I was taught to use or quote unquote best practice to use, but something that is a viable solution in this particular use case. I don't know if I arrive at these solutions only looking at best practice and industry knowledge in order to build a solution. Actually engaging with users and really picking their brains on what their objectives are, what the context they're using these applications in is critical to building good products. It's imperative that we as providers of digital products, to really design for people and not on people's behalf. I just think that's how you design good products. And as I always say, good design is good business.